In a world that moves faster every day, where stress, uncertainty, and distractions pull us in every direction, how do we find lasting peace and strength? What if the key isn't in changing our circumstances, but in changing how we respond to them? Today, we'll explore a timeless philosophy that teaches us how to navigate life's challenges with calm, clarity, and purpose. Stay with me as we uncover how Stoicism, practiced as a lifelong journey, can transform not just your mindset, but your entire life. The illusion of talent. Why being gifted isn't enough. You've seen it before. Maybe you've even lived it. The young man who was a prodigy in high school, smarter than anyone around him, coasting through every exam. Everyone said he was going places, but a decade later, he's stuck. No direction, no momentum, no real progress. Or the woman with the voice of an angel who could have gone on to fill concert halls, but instead sings only in her living room, quietly resenting the world for never discovering her. It's a strange tragedy, isn't it? So much talent, so little to show for it. And the worst part, they know it. Deep down, they carry the weight of that unused potential, like a ghost that never stops whispering, "You could have been more." But talent on its own isn't a blessing. Often it's a trap, a beautifully disguised curse, because talent makes you believe you're ahead when you're really just standing still. Epictetus once warned, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." That's the beginning of the fall, when you believe that being gifted exempts you from the grind, that intelligence replaces discipline, that natural ability means you can cut corners and still succeed. But the real world doesn't work like that. Nature may give you gifts, but life demands receipts. And if you can't pay with humility, effort, and consistency, you will go bankrupt, no matter how talented you are. In America, we love the story of the underdog who rises, but we're also quietly obsessed with the gifted slacker, the genius who doesn't try, the athlete who parties instead of trains, the artist who never publishes. There's something seductive about the idea that greatness can exist without effort, that maybe we too can be great without having to suffer. But that's not how greatness works. Not in real life. Real greatness is quiet, patient, and brutal. It shows up early and stays late. It listens more than it talks. It fails and then it gets up, again and again. Greatness doesn't care how smart you are. It only cares whether you showed up and did the work, especially when no one was watching. There's a reason why so many gifted people plateau while their less talented peers pass them by. It's not a matter of intelligence, it's a matter of character. The so-called average people are often more willing to start at the bottom, to hear hard truths, to be bad at something before they get good. They're not weighed down by the ego that whispers, "You should already be there." In truth, being talented can make you fragile, because when you're used to being praised just for showing up, you never learn how to take a punch. You never build the muscle of persistence. The first time life hits back, you fold. You blame the world. You say things like, "They just don't recognize my value." But maybe the real issue is that you stopped creating value in the first place. The Stoics believed in arete, excellence of character, the moral obligation to fulfill your potential, not to impress others, but to live in accordance with nature, with truth. Marcus Aurelius didn't tell himself to go rule an empire with genius. He told himself to get out of bed and do what a human being is supposed to do. That was the job, to rise and act, regardless of how gifted or tired or frustrated he felt. Being talented doesn't make you special. What makes you special is what you do with it. Kobe Bryant was obsessed with mastery, not because he wasn't talented, he was, but because he didn't trust talent. He knew it was a gift that could turn into a curse the moment you stop respecting it. He trained longer than anyone, showed up earlier, stayed later, because he understood something most people never learn. Talent is just raw material. Greatness is what you carve out of it. So ask yourself, what are you carving? Are you using your gift or hiding behind it? It's easy to sit around and say, I'm capable of so much more. But capability without action is just fantasy. It's self-soothing. It gives you the comfort of potential without the pain of progress. And the longer you sit in that comfort, the harder it becomes to move. Until one day the dream dies. And it doesn't die with fire, it dies quietly, in apathy, in procrastination, in mediocrity. If you're waiting for someone to discover you, stop, discover yourself, and then do the work, all of it, especially the boring parts, especially the parts that scare you. Because the truth is, the world isn't short on talent, it's short on discipline, it's short on consistency, it's short on people who are willing to sacrifice comfort for meaning. Don't let your gift become your excuse. Let it be your responsibility. Let it humble you. Let it push you. Let it keep you up at night, not because you're worried about being seen, but because you know you still haven't given it everything. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to try. Talent may open the door, but only effort, humility, and persistence will keep it open. And if you don't walk through it, someone else will. The myth of the right moment. Why waiting is a luxury you can't afford. There's a lie we tell ourselves, quietly, often unconsciously. It goes something like this. I'm just waiting for the right moment to start, the right moment to leave, the right moment to speak up, to write the book, to quit the job, to change. We convince ourselves that patience is wisdom, that holding back is strategic, that we are being deliberate, intentional, mature, but often it's none of those things. It's fear wearing a clever disguise. It's procrastination dressed up as prudence. And the most dangerous part? It feels noble, responsible even. But let's be honest, the right moment rarely arrives, and when it doesn't come with a fanfare or a flashing sign that says, now. It comes as a whisper, a window, a small, fleeting crack in the routine of your life. Blink, and it's gone. And if you've spent years rehearsing reasons not to act, you'll miss it, again and again, until the life you meant to live becomes a museum of unopened doors. Seneca said it best, while we wait for life, life passes. We forget that time isn't neutral. It doesn't stand still while you make up your mind. It keeps moving, quietly, steadily, and the longer you wait, the more rooted your fear becomes. The easier it is to stay stuck, because comfort calcifies. It hardens into identity. Before long, you're no longer someone who hasn't started yet. You're someone who never starts at all. The truth is, most people don't miss out on life because of a lack of opportunities. They miss out because they hesitate. They wait for permission, for clarity, for confidence, for certainty. But life rarely offers certainty. It only offers possibility. And that possibility has a shelf life. So why do we wait? Because taking action makes things real. When you move, you risk. When you speak up, you become visible. When you commit, you expose yourself to failure. But the alternative is stagnation, rot, a slow, quiet death. And in the end, not acting carries far greater risk than action ever will. We often say, I'll start when I'm ready. But readiness is not a prerequisite. It's a result. You become ready by doing, not by thinking, not by waiting. You step into the fire, and somewhere between the uncertainty and the pain, you become forged. Think about the people you admire, the ones who actually did something with their lives. They didn't wait for the stars to align. They didn't wait until they felt confident. They simply moved, afraid, unprepared, imperfect. and the world met them halfway, because life rewards movement. That doesn't mean you act recklessly. It means you stop using perfection as a hiding place. It means you stop mistaking hesitation for strategy. You move forward even if the step is small, especially if the step is small, because momentum matters more than scale. A tiny shift in direction, today, can change everything in 5 years. This is what the Stoics understood, that the only moment you own is now, not yesterday, not some imagined tomorrow. Now Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Not to be morbid, but to be awake, to feel the weight and beauty of the moment, because to delay is to gamble with something you cannot get back. Time. And here's the brutal irony. We think we're waiting for the right moment to avoid regret, but waiting is the regret. 10 years from now, you won't look back and say, I'm glad I waited to feel more confident. You'll wonder what might have happened if you had just started, just tried, just said yes. So start before you're ready, before you're certain, before you feel like you deserve it. Start when it's awkward, when it's clumsy, when your hands shake and your voice trembles. That's how real transformation begins, not with confidence, but with courage. Courage to look foolish, to be misunderstood, to be seen failing in public, because that's the price of growth. That's the toll you pay at the gate of a life worth living. And yes, it will hurt, but not as much as staying stuck, not as much as silencing yourself, not as much as waking up one day in a life that no longer feels like yours. So stop waiting. You are not a draft. This is not a rehearsal. The clock is ticking, whether you move or not. And the truth is, nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's going to knock on your door and say, now's the time. That's your job. Always has been. You don't need a sign. You need a decision. You don't need confidence. You need motion. And if you make that motion, however small, you'll be shocked at what unfolds. Not because the world is magical, but because you finally stopped making excuses and started making progress. Embracing failure as the path to mastery. In a culture obsessed with success, achievement, and the polished highlight reels of others, failure is often seen as the enemy, something to avoid, hide from, or erase at all costs. But what if failure isn't the enemy at all? What if it is the very thing we need to embrace to grow, to learn, and to become who we are truly meant to be? Failure is the forge where character is tempered, the crucible where wisdom is born. Every great figure in history, whether a leader, artist, entrepreneur, or thinker, has faced failure, many multiple times. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That mindset is not just perseverance. It's a reframing of failure itself as a necessary step toward mastery. The Stoics understood this deeply. Seneca wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Failure marks an ending, yes, but more importantly, it marks a beginning, a chance to shed illusions and rebuild stronger, wiser, and more aligned with reality. Why is failure so terrifying to us? Partly because we mistake it for identity. We confuse what we do with who we are. If I fail, I am a failure. If I stumble, I am broken. But this is a lie. Failure is an event. It is temporary. It is not the definition of your worth or potential. When we internalize failure, we trap ourselves in a cycle of fear. Fear of trying, fear of risk, fear of judgment. And this fear kills possibility. It paralyzes. It keeps us safely tucked inside the comfort of what's known, even when what's known is empty or unfulfilling. But here's the paradox. The more we fear failure, the more we guarantee it, because failure grows out of inaction or half-hearted attempts. Failure blooms in the shadow of procrastination and self-doubt. To break free, we must reframe failure not as an end, but as a teacher, a guide, a necessary and valuable step on the road to growth. This means showing up, trying, and accepting that you will fall sometimes. And that's okay. More than okay, it's essential. Consider the story of J.K. Rowling. Before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon, she faced rejection after rejection. Publishers said no again and again, but Rowling kept going. She accepted those failures as part of the process, not a verdict on her worth or talent. And through persistence, she rewrote not just her own story, but the story of millions around the world. Mastery isn't a straight path. It's a labyrinth of trial, error, and course correction. It's messy, uneven, and often painful. But every misstep is data. Every fall is feedback. Every failure is an opportunity to recalibrate and grow. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus advised, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do happen, and you will go on well." This radical acceptance shifts our relationship to failure. We stop fighting reality and start working with it. When you stop fearing failure, you become free to experiment, to innovate, to push boundaries. And here's where it gets beautiful. Often, the biggest breakthroughs come after the biggest stumbles, because failure forces you to look deeper, think differently, and discover strengths you didn't know you had. It's important to remember that failure is not a destination, but a signpost, a signal that you are pushing beyond your comfort zone, that you are daring to grow. And growth, by its very nature, requires discomfort. But what about shame? What about the fear of being judged? This is where vulnerability meets courage. Brené Brown famously said, "Vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. To fail openly, to risk judgment, to expose your imperfect self. That is courage in its purest form. And that courage builds resilience. Resilience is not about never falling, it's about bouncing back, about embracing the setbacks as part of the journey. It's about understanding that your value isn't tied to flawless performance, but to your willingness to engage fully with life, including its inevitable failures. When we adopt this mindset, something remarkable happens. Failure loses its sting. It becomes less of a threat and more of a stepping stone. And as we accumulate these stepping stones, we build a foundation strong enough to support our dreams. So how do we start embracing failure today? First, start small. Take risks that feel just outside your comfort zone. Celebrate the act of trying, regardless of the outcome. Reflect on what each attempt teaches you, and share your failures, not to seek sympathy, but to normalize the process of learning. Second, reframe your inner dialogue. When you stumble, resist the urge to label yourself harshly. Instead say, "This is a chance to learn," or "I'm getting closer." Change the story you tell yourself about what failure means. Third, cultivate patience. Mastery and growth don't happen overnight. The process requires time, persistence, and a willingness to endure setbacks without losing sight of the horizon. Finally, surround yourself with people who understand this journey. Seek mentors, friends, or communities that value growth over perfection. Their support can remind you that failure is not isolation. It's a shared human experience. In the end, embracing failure is about reclaiming your power. It's about refusing to be defined by your mistakes or setbacks. It's about recognizing that your greatest growth lies not in never falling, but in rising every time you do. As the American writer Mary Tyler Moore once said, "Take chances, make mistakes. That's how you grow." In a world that worships success, dare to honor failure, because within every failure lies the seed of mastery waiting to bloom. Cultivating emotional resilience. Through Stoic acceptance, in the relentless pace of modern life, emotional turbulence often feels unavoidable. We encounter setbacks, disappointments, unexpected hardships, moments that shake us to our core. Yet how we respond to these challenges defines the quality of our lives far more than the challenges themselves. The Stoics offer a profound guide. Cultivate emotional resilience by accepting what we cannot control and mastering what lies within our power. Emotional resilience isn't about suppressing feelings or pretending everything is fine. It's not Stoicism in the caricatured sense of cold detachment or emotional numbness. Rather, it is the deep ability to feel, process, and transcend emotional upheaval without being overwhelmed or broken by it. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This insight cuts through the noise of external chaos and redirects our attention inward. When life becomes turbulent, it is tempting to blame circumstances, other people, or fate. But Stoicism teaches us that these are beyond our control. Our true domain is our perception, our choices, our reactions. Imagine a storm battering a sturdy tree. The tree's branches may sway, even break, but its roots remain firmly planted in the earth. Emotional resilience is the strength of those roots, our internal foundation that holds us steady even when external forces rage. One powerful practice is the art of acceptance. This does not mean resignation or passivity. It means embracing reality exactly as it is, without resistance or denial. When we resist reality, we suffer twice, once from the initial hardship and again from our struggle against it. But acceptance frees us from unnecessary suffering. It allows us to conserve energy and focus on what we can change. This acceptance echoes in the Serenity Prayer, widely embraced across cultures. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. This wisdom is at the heart of Stoic philosophy. Emotional resilience also grows from mindfulness, the practice of observing our thoughts and feelings without judgment. When anger, fear, or sadness arise, we learn to witness these emotions as passing phenomena, not as permanent states or identities. This awareness creates space between stimulus and response, where true choice lives. For example, when criticism stings or a relationship fractures, the instinctive reaction might be to lash out or retreat. But with mindful acceptance, we pause. We acknowledge our pain without being consumed by it. We reflect on what is within our power to heal or improve, and what we must let go. This perspective transforms suffering into growth. Challenges become opportunities for self-mastery. Each emotional test is a training ground for resilience. Like weights building muscle, hardships strengthen our capacity to endure and adapt. Moreover, emotional resilience fosters empathy. When we understand our own struggles and accept our vulnerabilities, we become more compassionate toward others. We see their pain without judgment, recognizing the shared human experience of fragility and strength. This is crucial in today's divided society. Emotional resilience equips us not only to navigate personal storms, but also to engage with the world more wisely and kindly. It tempers reactions, reduces impulsive anger, and nurtures patience. Building emotional resilience is not a one-time act, but a lifelong journey. It requires daily practice and self-reflection. Journaling, meditation, and philosophical contemplation are tools that Stoics have long recommended. Writing down our fears and frustrations allows us to confront them directly. Meditation fosters calm and clarity. Reflecting on Stoic teachings reinforces perspective and purpose. It is also essential to set boundaries, to protect our emotional space from toxic influences or unnecessary drama. Saying no, stepping back, and prioritizing our well-being are acts of resilience, not weakness. In embracing this path, we align with a truth fundamental to the American spirit, the power of self-determination. We may not control every circumstance, but we always hold the power to choose our response. This freedom is the root of dignity and hope. As Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, wrote in Man's Search for Meaning, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." Emotional resilience through Stoic acceptance thus becomes a radical act of freedom, a reclaiming of our sovereignty over our inner life amid external chaos. So, how do we cultivate this resilience practically? Start by observing your emotional reactions without rushing to suppress or act on them. Notice what triggers intense feelings. Ask yourself, is this within my control? How can I respond wisely? Practice daily reflection. At day's end, review your experiences, noting where you exercise resilience or where you faltered. Use these insights to improve tomorrow. Embrace discomfort as a teacher rather than an enemy. Recognize that discomfort signals growth, not failure. Surround yourself with others who model emotional maturity and Stoic values. Their presence will anchor you when your own resolve weakens. And finally, remind yourself regularly that your emotional life is yours to govern. By accepting reality and mastering your mind, you build a fortress no external storm can breach. In a world that often encourages emotional reactivity, cultivating such resilience is a revolutionary act. It is a path not only to personal peace, but to a more compassionate and thoughtful society. The role of community and shared wisdom in Stoic growth. While Stoicism teaches us that the power to master our mind and emotions lies within ourselves, it does not advocate isolation or withdrawal from others. On the contrary, the Stoic path recognizes the profound importance of community and shared wisdom in our personal growth and resilience. We are social beings, and our connections with others shape our character and deepen our understanding of life. In a culture that often glorifies rugged individualism, the ideal of the lone hero braving the storm, it can be tempting to believe that true strength means going it alone. Yet even the most stoic of philosophers understood the necessity of fellowship. Marcus Aurelius, while an emperor, frequently reminded himself of his place in the common city of humanity. Seneca counseled that friends and mentors are indispensable guides on the road to virtue. Community serves multiple functions on the Stoic journey. First, it provides a mirror, a way to see ourselves more clearly. Others reflect back our behavior, our blind spots, and our progress. Honest feedback from trusted companions helps us identify when our pride or irrational impulses take hold. Second, shared wisdom across generations and cultures offers invaluable perspectives. Stoicism is itself a tradition rooted in the collective insights of many minds across centuries. Reading Epictetus or Seneca today connects us with a lineage of thinkers who wrestled with the same human challenges. Their writings, preserved and passed down, become companions in our struggle, reminding us that we are not alone in our questions or pain. Third, community offers support in moments of weakness. Emotional resilience, as we explored earlier, is built through practice, but setbacks are inevitable. A friend's empathy or a mentor's guidance can steady us when our own resolve falters. This is not dependence, but interdependence, the recognition that human flourishing thrives within relationships. In the American context, this principle resonates deeply. Despite the emphasis on individual rights and freedom, there is a strong cultural thread valuing community, from neighborhood bonds to civic engagement. We see this in movements for social justice, environmental stewardship, and mutual aid. Stoicism's call for shared growth complements and enriches this impulse. Moreover, the digital age has created paradoxes in our social lives. We are more connected than ever, yet loneliness and alienation have surged. Superficial online interactions often replace deep, meaningful dialogue. Here, Stoicism's emphasis on authentic connection is a balm. It urges us to cultivate relationships grounded in honesty, respect, and shared values rather than convenience or fleeting pleasure. Building such a community starts with small, intentional acts. Reaching out with vulnerability, practicing active listening, and offering kindness without expectation. It requires humility to admit when we don't have all the answers, and openness to learn from others. The Stoic idea of sympathia, the interconnectedness of all things, reminds us that our well-being is intertwined. We cannot thrive in isolation. Every person we meet is part of the vast human network, deserving of dignity and care. Shared wisdom also encourages collective reflection. Dialogue with others challenges our assumptions and broadens our perspective. When we engage with diverse viewpoints, we test our beliefs and strengthen our reasoning. This practice guards against dogmatism and cultivates intellectual humility. Community also acts as a crucible for virtue. Living virtuously is not merely a private endeavor, but one that expresses itself through our interactions. Justice, courage, temperance, and wisdom are lived out in relationship. Our actions ripple outward, influencing those around us. In times of crisis, communities embody Stoic ideals by coming together with courage and practical action. Whether responding to natural disasters, social upheaval, or personal loss, collective resilience is forged through shared purpose and mutual support. The Stoic sage is not a solitary figure, but a citizen of the world, a cosmopolite who embraces their role in the human family. This global citizenship is especially poignant today as challenges like climate change, pandemics, and political polarization remind us of our interconnected fate. Practically, how can we nurture community aligned with Stoic principles? Begin by seeking out spaces and groups committed to meaningful dialogue. Philosophy clubs, support circles, volunteer organizations, or simply regular conversations with trusted friends. Prioritize quality over quantity in relationships. Depth and authenticity matter more than numbers or social status. Engage in shared rituals of reflection or learning, such as group readings, discussions, or journaling exercises. These practices deepen understanding and build solidarity. Practice empathy actively, striving to understand others' perspectives without immediate judgment or defensiveness. Model the virtues you aspire to see in others. Integrity, patience, and generosity create fertile ground for growth. Acknowledge and celebrate collective achievements, no matter how small, reinforcing the bonds that sustain us. By weaving community into our Stoic practice, we create a powerful web of support and wisdom that elevates each individual and strengthens the whole. In the end, Stoicism is a philosophy not just of solitary endurance, but of shared human flourishing. It teaches us that true strength arises not from isolation, but from connection, rooted in mutual respect, shared learning, and compassion. This balance of inner mastery and outward engagement offers a blueprint for navigating the complexities of modern American life. It invites us to stand firm in our own minds while reaching out to others with open hearts. Through community and shared wisdom, we find not only resilience, but a deeper sense of purpose and belonging. Reminders that while the path of Stoicism is personal, it is never walked alone. The ongoing journey. Stoicism as a lifelong practice. Stoicism at its core is not a destination, but a journey, a continuous unfolding rather than a fixed state. The philosophy invites us to embrace the reality that growth is ongoing, and mastery over our minds, emotions, and actions is never complete. This perspective is especially vital in a culture like America's, which often prizes quick success and instant gratification. Stoicism calls us to patience, persistence, and humility on the path toward wisdom. Every day presents fresh challenges, new disruptions, and unpredictable twists. No matter how well we prepare or how strong our discipline, we will encounter setbacks. The Stoic does not seek perfection, but resilience, the ability to stand back up, to keep moving forward with intention despite adversity. This lifelong commitment distinguishes casual self-improvement from a profound way of life. One way to understand this is through the metaphor of a craftsman working on a sculpture. The artist does not expect to finish the work in a single session. Instead, each stroke, each chip away at the marble, brings the form closer to its ideal shape. Sometimes progress is slow. Sometimes the artist must step back to see the whole clearly. Similarly, Stoicism teaches us that each moment of self-reflection, every act of restraint, and every choice toward virtue is a stroke in the shaping of our character. The ancient Stoics themselves acknowledge this. Epictetus famously said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." This embodiment requires lifelong dedication. Stoicism is not a set of rules to memorize or a checklist to complete. It is a living practice that deepens as we grow older and wiser. Importantly, this ongoing journey fosters a healthy attitude toward failure. Rather than fearing mistakes or setbacks, the Stoic learns to welcome them as teachers. Each failure is an opportunity to examine where reason faltered or passion overtook us. In this way, adversity becomes the forge of character, not a reason for despair. In modern American life, with its relentless pace and high expectations, this approach offers profound relief. It reminds us that the pressure to have it all figured out is both unrealistic and unnecessary. Life is complex and growth often comes in fits and starts. The Stoic path invites us to be gentle with ourselves, to recognize that real change unfolds gradually. Another crucial aspect of the lifelong journey is the deepening of self-awareness. As we mature, our understanding of ourselves and the world grows richer and more nuanced. Early lessons in controlling impulses and emotions give way to subtler insights into our motivations, biases, and attachments. This ongoing inquiry prevents complacency and encourages continual refinement. Moreover, Stoicism encourages us to keep revisiting foundational principles with fresh eyes. What made sense in youth may take on new meaning in middle age or later life. The flexibility and adaptability of Stoic practice ensure that it remains relevant throughout the many seasons of life. This perspective also nurtures a profound acceptance of mortality, a theme deeply embedded in Stoic thought. Contemplating our finite existence is not morbid but liberating. It sharpens our focus on what truly matters and diminishes attachment to trivial worries or fleeting pleasures. By embracing life as a continuous journey of learning and becoming, we shift from seeking external validation to cultivating internal harmony. Our worth no longer depends on achievements or others' opinions, but on the integrity of our own character and the sincerity of our efforts. In the American cultural context, where success is often equated with external markers, wealth, status, productivity, Stoicism offers a powerful counterbalance. It redefines success as a process of becoming better, wiser, and more virtuous, regardless of circumstances. This lifelong practice also fosters gratitude and contentment. Recognizing that perfection is unattainable, we learn to appreciate progress, however small. Gratitude for each moment, each lesson, and each breath becomes a cornerstone of well-being. Practical tools support this journey. Daily reflection through journaling, meditation on Stoic texts, mindfulness of the present moment, and intentional pauses before action. These rituals anchor us amid chaos and help cultivate the discipline required for long-term growth. Finally, the ongoing nature of Stoicism inspires hope. No matter our past mistakes or current struggles, we possess the capacity for renewal. The philosophy empowers us to approach each new day with curiosity and courage, knowing that transformation is always within reach. In embracing Stoicism as a lifelong journey, we find a profound source of strength, peace, and purpose. It equips us to navigate the complexities of modern life with grace and resilience, offering a timeless guide for cultivating a flourishing, meaningful existence. In the end, Stoicism isn't a quick fix. It's a daily discipline, a way of life. It asks us to meet each moment with courage, to accept what we cannot control, and to act with wisdom and integrity in all that we do. When we treat Stoicism not as a destination, but as a lifelong path, we begin to find real peace, not in the absence of struggle, but in how we face it. So take a breath, take the next step, and keep walking the path. If this video sparks something in you, a quiet fire, a moment of stillness, or the courage to take one step closer to who you really are, then you're in the right place. We're building a space for thinkers, dreamers, and doers, for those who seek depth in a world full of noise. If that sounds like you, hit the like button, drop a comment to share your thoughts or your own story. I'd love to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe, because this is just the beginning. There's so much more to come. See you in the next one.